A sharp decline in test scores among 8th grade students across the United States now has parents and career educators sounding the alarm on post-pandemic education failures in America. According to the nation's report card, just 13% of students were deemed proficient in U.S. history and just 22% in civics. After peaking in the early 2010s, scores now back to where they were when the tests were first administered in the 1990s. Angela Morabito is a spokesperson for the Defense of Freedom Institute, former press secretary for the U.S. Department of Education under Donald Trump. Nicole Neily is the president and founder of Parents Defending Education. Ladies, welcome. Thanks for coming on today. Angela, first to you, these scores reveal a deeply disturbing trend in America's schools, specifically in the areas, in this case, of civics and history. Think about how important that is. What can be attributed to these low scores?
Well, the pandemic lockdowns led by the teacher unions were certainly part of it, but this problem really dates back long before anybody had ever heard of COVID. We have been failing these students. And these abysmal scores are the natural result of allowing woke politics and gender ideology to take the place of real principles and facts about where, how this country was founded and how it came to be.
You mentioned school closures, right? We know the impact that that had on learning, where students fell behind. And Nicole, we saw recently the president of the teachers union, AFT union president, Randy Weingarten, who'd been outspoken about school closures, essentially an advocate for them during the height of the pandemic. In a recent interview on CNN, a contributor actually confronted her about the closures. This is Scott Jennings, and talked about the impact the closures had on students. Take a watch. Again, this happened on CNN, kind of an astonishing moment. Here's that.
There are numerous statements you made over the summer of 20, scaring people to death about the possibility of opening schools. And I hear no remorse whatsoever about the generational damage that's been done to these kids. I have 2 kids with learning differences. Do you know how hard it is for them to learn at home and not in a classroom that was designed for them? And for you to sit in front of Congress and the American people and say, oh, I wanted to open them the whole time. I am shocked. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. And there are millions of parents who feel the exact same way.
Finally, a moment where she was confronted by that sentiment. And Scott was alluding to this, Nicole, a testimony in front of Congress where she claimed she wanted to keep schools open. Your thoughts on how maybe there's sort of an attempt to rewrite history in this moment?
He did a better job pinning her down than, frankly, the House Oversight Committee did. Yes, she is actively trying to rewrite history, as is the White House. They keep claiming that they tried to reopen schools. We know, thanks to public records requests filed by Americans for Public Trust, that they did not try to reopen, that the AFT worked hand in glove with the CDC to try and keep schools closed. And we saw individual chapters around the country, like in Los Angeles, shaking people down, saying we will not reopen schools unless not only do we have vaccines and there's zero transmission, but also we want a moratorium on charter schools. We want universal health care. So the fact that this is what was taking place, we were forced to pass the ESSER bill. We were told that this money had to be spent and allocated for schools. Parents assumed that it was for, sanitation. It was for air purifiers. Instead, what we've seen is all that money, the billions of dollars, have been instead sent to woke priorities, like Angela referred to. And rather than having our children focus on learning loss, as Angela also said, what we're doing is we're now seeing schools spend hours a day on identity politics rather than focusing on the basics. It's deplorable, and it's denying our children an opportunity to live a better life.
Just quickly back to you, Angela. Again, during that time, if you could take us back, I understand you were serving in the Trump administration. Were there efforts to get the message out, to open up schools at a time when we'd seen people like Randy Weingarten go on TV saying it's not safe?
Yes, we were hosting reopening summits. We were deploying the money allocated by Congress to help schools reopen safely. The Trump administration was providing guidance, resources, everything under the sun, all in an effort to get schools reopened. So it is offensive to me personally, and it should be offensive to every parent in this country when Randy Weingarten tries to gaslight us into believing that she somehow wanted schools reopened, when in reality, she was using COVID as political leverage for more money and more power.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Ladies, thanks for coming on. Speaking the truth on television here, we know parents and students have suffered recently. Angela and Nicole, thank you very much.
Thank you.